Hey, it's Mark at alchemist.camp, where usually we build Elixir projects to become better Elixir programmers, but today we're going to be working on deployment still. Specifically, setting up Let's Encrypt so we can get free HTTPS certificates. I've already got an Nginx server set up, basic server set up, and we'll put the certificates on today. What do you think of this new logo? I just recently changed it. The old one was, well, I mean, let's be honest, they're both super basic, but the old one looked kind of like this. Can I zoom? Maybe I can't zoom on that. Oh, there we go. So obviously Elixir, alchemy, we've got some potions. The new one is the same idea. It's just that the new one has different colors. I've made it a clearer purple, and then a pinkish one and a tealish greenish one, and I've also filled the vials a little bit. I think I'm going to try this one out for a while, and I noticed YouTube let me put the logo for Alchemist Camp at the bottom right of the videos, so I threw that in there. All right, on to the server setup. We'll start this virtual box. Skip some of that there so you don't have to wait. So I've already set up login via SSH keys, so I don't need a password. Did that last video. If you're interested in how to do the basic setup of a Ubuntu install and getting Nginx running and putting a firewall up on DigitalOcean, or actually pretty much on any VPS, but I did it on DigitalOcean, then check out the last video, which I'll put in the links below. All right, so log in. So as you can see, we've got this basic server set up. I'm logged in, didn't take a password. I do have sudo privileges. I'll show you what's up on the firewall right now. Sudo Ubuntu firewall status. So we have Nginx with HTTP running, and OpenSSH can get through, and then also the version 6s. So by default, Nginx serves everything up in /var/www/html, and we can look at that right now. I think that will require sudo though. Let's get that mouse out of the way. var www/html, and we can see there's an index.html there. We can look at that. And it's just this super basic site, and actually that's what you see if you load the URL of this server. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave that default in place, but then set up site-specific directories for alchemist.camp and for statwatch.me. And the way Nginx works, it's not too difficult to set that up. You could run a whole bunch of sites, and that's what most shared hosts do. So sudo make directory, and -p will make it recursively make all the directories that need to be made to get to there. So I'm going to make one for alchemist.camp, and there's going to be an HTML directory under that, just like there was under the base one. Then I'm going to do the exact same command. I'll use Unix's fc, which edits your last shoot. This is nano, which is not what I am used to. Let me get out of there. Control X. No, don't say. Okay, yikes. I believe that's update alternatives, how you change that. So sudo update alternatives config. Right, I need a name for that. Okay, that is editor. So let's change that to number 3, Vim, which is what I'm used to. Where was I? What was I doing? I was making a directory, and I was going to make another directory that was for statwatch.me, my other site. Okay, so we've made a couple of directories. Now we have to give permission to this user, which is called Alchemist. You can see right here. Got to give permission to this user so that it can do things, well, specifically so that it can read and write to those directories. So sudo chown, which is change owner, -r for recursive user. It's just the current user. So it's basically going to be this user, Alchemist, and group Alchemist, for www.alchemist.camp/html, and then do the same thing for StatWatch. And now I'll use FC, which is a kind of cool thing that lets you edit the last command and then it will execute it again. So this will do exactly what I just did, except it will make the change for the statwatch.me directory. Okay, and let's see. Then we've got to make the var www readable by everybody. So chmod, which basically just changes the permissions on something. And this will be recursive. 755 means the user can do everything, and the group and the rest of the world can read and execute. var/www, and on Unix, when you open a directory, that's executing. So that's why execution is allowed. Okay, gotta make an index.html. So the default index.html was at var www/index or /html/index.html. The one for alchemist.camp is going to be the same place, except with an alchemist.camp directory thrown in there. HTML index.html. Alchemist.camp is upgrading. That should be enough. Then I'll do the same basic thing for statwatch.me. Now there's something called sites available, and it's just a configuration with how Nginx is going to handle your site. And I'm going to copy that profile into one for each of these sites from the default. So first I'll go into the directory where all that stuff is, just to speed things up. Okay, and in here we've just got our default. So first I'll make a copy of it as alchemist.camp. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing for statwatch.me. Me, alchemist.camp. Okay, good. Now you're only allowed to, inside these profiles, there are a number of directives. I should say inside these blocks, there are a number of directives. And one of them is default server, but you can only have one thing set up as default server at the same time. And default was the default server. Since we copied it directly into alchemist.camp into statwatch.me, both of those say they're the default server as well. So we're going to change that. And default server right there. Read only, I got to sudo this, right. Default server, and don't need that space there. Good deal. And get rid of that one. Don't need that space either. Sorry, anything else to change? Yes. So first of all, the root of this server is going to be at var www.alchemist.camp/html, and the server name, instead of just being the underscore default, is going to be, actually we're going to have two of them. We're going to have alchemist.camp, and we're going to have www.alchemist.camp. And is everything else good? Yes. So save that, and then do the same deal for statwatch.me. Okay, clear the screen there. All right, now let's check and make sure that there's only one configuration that says it's default server. So we'll do a grep -r for repeatedly or recursively or something. We'll search for default _server in the local directory. And we've got a bunch, but the only ones that are uncommented are in /default. So that is as it should be. The next thing is to link up these profiles so that the server can use them. A sudo link -s etc. Actually, we're already in the directory, so it's going to be ./alchemist.camp to etc/nginx/sites enabled. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for statwatch.me. Okay, I'll just have a quick look at the directory, make sure that is, that is not good. I'm going to delete these symlinks and make them with absolute paths. So sudo rm ms.camp and statwatch.me. Okay, now to remake them. Sudo ln-s, let's see, nginx, sites available, alchemist.camp to etc nginx/sites enabled with the trailing slash. Okay, that should work. And I'll do the same thing for statwatch.me. Much better. All right, let's change one thing in the main configuration file for Nginx, which is at etc/nginx/nginx.conf. The only change I'm going to make is that one line with server names hash bucket size and uncommented. Okay. Read only. Why do I always do this? Okay. Now let's check for syntax errors. Nginx has a tool that does that. And it looks like nothing is glaringly wrong. Now I'll restart the server, and that's done with systemctl, which is the exact same tool we used last episode for starting and stopping the firewall. Restart Nginx. Okay. Now, there is one difficulty in testing this, and that's that we have an IP address, but if we just hit this IP address directly, there's no host associated with the request, so it goes to the default, which is this welcome page. And we don't want to use the welcome page. We want to see that the sites that we set up for alchemist.camp and statwatch.me are working properly. So the way we'll deal with that is we'll make a change to our etc host file locally. Sudo vi etc hosts. Okay, so it's going to be that exact same IP address that's in the Firefox on Windows on the left, 159.89.207.178. That is going to go to alchemist.camp and www.alchemist.camp. And it will also go to statwatch.me and www.statwatch.me. Okay, with this set up, anything locally from the virtual host, any request from the virtual host to alchemist.camp will check that etc.host and it will get the IP address. Excellent. And we'll check statwatch.me. That is not working. Did I misspell something? That's usually the cause of the weirdest problems. All right, so this was a little confusing and I paused the video for a little bit to try to debug it. What I did was I did a diff on the sites available for StatWatch and sites available for alchemist.camp. And the diff showed me that everything looked perfectly fine. Like the only differences were the names statwatch.me and alchemist.camp. So then I did a diff on sites enabled /statwatch.me and sites enabled /alchemist.camp. And those two files were also identical except for the names. So everything really looked like it was fine. So I went back to the local machine and opened a new terminal, and I installed curl, which is basically just like a text-based browser. Well, yeah, basically, well, it's not a browser, but you can do HTTP requests. So I did a curl of statwatch.me, and that just sends a GET request, basically. And I got back the HTML that I should have gotten back. So the local configuration of etc hosts is okay, and the server side is also okay. So whatever happened, whatever went wrong was Firefox's fault. It's remembering this HTTPS because the real statwatch.me does use HTTPS, and it actually forces redirect to it. So statwatch.me here, you'll see it redirects to HTTPS. And maybe I've just loaded it up before in Firefox, so that's why I put that in there. If I load it without the HTTPS, there's still a problem. So there's something cached in here on Firefox's side. But it is definitely just on Firefox's side because using curl externally, I can get at it. And I'm pretty sure if I installed Chrome or some other browser, this would not be a problem. So maybe I'll open a private window. That should get around whatever sort of cache issue might be involved. Okay, and that works fine. Yeah, so there's just some annoying Firefox cache related thing, but the server is working properly and we are ready to go on to set up HTTPS. All right, I'll resize this a little bit and get all the space possible. All right, so let's go back to our server. So it's going to be SSH alchemist at alchemist.camp. And we'll start by installing the Let's Encrypt package, because that might take a little bit of time. It's called certbot, But before we do that, we've got to install the repository. That's sudo add apt -repository ppa certbot /certbot. Okay, next I'll update, which is pretty much always a good idea after adding a new repository. So sudo apt.get update. And finally, we can add the actual install. Python certbot Nginx. They have a whole bunch of versions. The Nginx one is super well supported. Unfortunately, they don't have an Elixir version yet, which, as I said before, is one of the motivations for using Nginx. All right, while that's installing, let's go back to DigitalOcean, and I'll click into networking, which is where you set up your name servers. Not going to do both of them right now. Just going to do alchemist.camp, do statwatch.me later, possibly off video. There are a bunch of things that I've set up in my networking. Some of this is for Amazon emailing and various other things. The important ones are the CNAME and the ANAME. So the CNAME is just an alias. So anytime someone goes to www.alchemist.camp, that immediately redirects to or aliases to alchemist.camp. Alchemist.camp itself goes to 159.65.32.236, which is not the current server. So go up here to new record, ANAME, and then I'm going to pick this new Ubuntu box that we've just set up. And I can't create the record because there already is one. You can only have one ANAME record. So I'll delete that one. Now I should be able to create this one. Okay, once the record's created, it's not going to be, actually this should be pretty much instantaneous because we have name server. The name servers are already set up to be DigitalOcean. Yeah, let's check it out. Let's check out alchemist.camp right now. Oh, ha. Okay, that's a little silly. We don't want alchemist.camp.alchemist.camp. We just want alchemist.camp. Okay, so it's at to just be directly at the name. And it's not updating yet. Strange. It's probably another one of those caching issues. Let's try curl from our local box. Actually, we'll just do a private browser session. There we go. Alchemist.camp. That one is already set up, so shoot, it's going to be a private browser from Windows. It's not updated yet. Okay, takes a little bit of time. All right, on to the install. The certbot requires that your server is under a block like we just made for alchemist.camp and statwatch.me. Can't just be under the default. So we've already done that. The next thing to do is open the firewall to HTTPS. So sudo ufw, get rid of the mouse that's in the way, ufw status. And you can see we have HTTP open, but we do not have HTTPS open. So sudo ufw allow nginx full. That will give it both HTTP and HTTPS. Now, not sure if we can, we're gonna have to have this update happen on the name server before we can use certbot. So to check this, I think I'll open up Bash on my Windows side and just do a quick NS lookup. Actually, I'll curl from here first. So curl alchemist.camp. That's the old one. So NS lookup. Okay, and non-authoritative answer, and it looks like I'm going through some hub through my internet service provider. So let's do an IP lookup. So let's do an IP lookup. So 178, that's the one we were just using. Yeah, okay, so this is updated. The rest of the internet sees that alchemist.camp is upgrading. So time is of the essence, and certbot should be able to work. So sudo certbot nginx -d alchemist.camp -d www.alchemist.camp. And let's see, enter email address. Okay. I must agree. Okay. I'm used to that kind of deal. The EFF, no, I know about them and like their work a great deal though. All right, let's make everything redirect to HTTPS. Okay, and it says it's done. Wow. Let's try this again. That is not HTTPS. That is. But I have no way of knowing if this, well actually I do have a way of knowing. I can always NS lookup again. Still not updated. That's really annoying. Gotta change internet providers or something. You know what? I'm just gonna check on my phone. All right, looks like it's updated. See if HTTPS is working. HTTPS is working, and it is automatically forwarding to HTTPS. All right. Now, instead of that ugly updating junk, I'm just going to get the HTML for all of this. The easiest way to get it is probably just to use what's on the shared drive. So I'm going to open up a new terminal here and go to media/alchemistcamp/alchemistcamp/camp/priv/static. Now I'll just copy the whole contents. Well, actually, let me make sure it's there. Fine, of course it's there. I'll just copy the whole contents of that file to the clipboard. So cat/index HTML pipe xclip-i. Oh, okay. Sudo apt install xclip. Try that again. Okay, let me try pasting. Oh, yep. Okay, good, good, good. We'll go to var/w. Is it www? Yeah. /alchemist.camp/html and edit the index.html file. Very good. And now we'll paste from the clipboard. Doesn't seem like anything. Oh, okay, there it is. Well, it looks like I missed the very, very end of just the closing HTML. Okay, and I'll save that. And you know what? There's an image that's not going to be here either. So let's go to logo, and I'll just delete that. Delete that line. Okay, so now, just due to how Nginx works, okay, we don't need this open anymore. Due to how Nginx works, that should have been an immediate update. And we've got everything except our old logo. Not too bad for hustle mode. So the next thing is let's make sure that the renewal works for the certificates. Because by default, Let's Encrypt only gives you a 3-month certificate. And once that installs, then all of a sudden nobody can access, well, people can access your site, but they get a huge ugly warning and they'd have to jump through hoops that Chrome or Firefox or whoever puts in front of them to access the site. So that one is, let's just go to our, and the way we'll do that is we'll do a dry run of certbot renew. Excellent, we have SSH. So now we've got Nginx in the front taking care of proxying everything to HTTPS, and we've got automatically renewing certificates so that our HTTPS certificates remain valid. And it's a pretty good setup. In fact, a lot of people stop this sort of configuration right here and just start adding PHP files and making, PHP related adjustments to their nginx.conf, and it's a perfectly good server. But we're not going to do that. Next episode, we're going to set up Elixir release deployment to this server so that it'll be just as easy as it was before to deploy new releases. In fact, it'll be a little bit more powerful in some ways because I can do like hot loading and stuff like that. And if you want to see that, then click subscribe and click the bell so that you get the next episode. Until then, code on.